Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Gosvami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So thank you once again, dear devotees, for kindly assembling here for our first session on Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. The previous session, as I said, was an introductory session where some history regarding Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam was given. And today we are beginning with the first session. And I'm very happy because this literature is one in a million literature. And the author is really a very special personality. So before I begin speaking something about Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam, I would like to quickly offer obeisances to Srila Rupa Gosvami. Shuddhyartham mama dehasya jalasnanam karomyaham Shri Rupa Vaksudhasnanam Svatmanah Parishuddhaye. For the purification of my physical body, I bathe regularly using water. For the thorough purification of my soul, however, I bathe in the nectar of the words of Srila Rupa Gosvami. So, dear devotees, as I said, this is a very special literature, Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. And this literature is special because it is spoken by a sadhu who is thoroughly honest in nature. Srila Rupa Gosvami is such a personality that he has retired to Shri Vrindavan. He has absolutely no personal desires in his heart. And Srila Rupa Gosvami is completely detached from all material life and all material desires. So, such a personality is very difficult to find. And definitely, it is our good fortune that we are able to listen to these words of Srila Rupa Gosvami. Srila Rupa Gosvami is also a very special personality because he is a thoroughly honest, pure devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and has all the qualities of a learned brāhmaṇa. See, there are many devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it is Sri Rupa Gosvami in whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found the perfect qualities of a brāhmaṇa. And there is something special about learning from a perfect brāhmaṇa. Not only is Srila Rupa Gosvami a brāhmana by birth, but he is also a brāhmana thoroughly in his nature. And there is something very important about learning from such a person, that such a person has no personal motivation in teaching us. He will give us the straight truth, only the truth, and nothing but the truth. And therefore, knowledge personified, vidyā, is also eager to approach a brāhmana and ask him to teach. So, in this way, Srila Rupa Gosvami is a very special teacher, and Vidya Devi is also eager to ask a brāhmaṇa to teach the Shastra. So, Vidya Devi, it is described in one of the Vedic literatures named Nirukta. Vidya Devi says something to a brāhmaṇa. The Nirukta says as follows. Vidyā havai brāhmaṇamā jagāma. Vidya Devi personified approached a brāhmaṇa and said to him, what did Vidya, what did knowledge say to the brāhmaṇa? Gopayamam shevadhishtehamasmi. Gopayamam, please protect me. Shevadhi te ham asmi. I am your wealth. Protect you from whom? So Vidya says, Asuyakayan rajaveyataya. Please protect me from a person who dislikes me, or who is crooked, or who is devoid of sense control. Nama bruya. Please don't give me to such people. Please let such people do not become instructors. Viryavati yathasyam. And by doing so, I will remain extremely potent. So Vidya, knowledge personified. In the Vedas, she is expecting that a brāhmaṇa who is fully sense controlled should be the ideal person teaching her. Srila Rupa Gosvami is such an ideal brāhmaṇa. Not only is he a brāhmaṇa, he is also a perfect Vaishnava. Not only is he a perfect Vaishnava, he is also a devout follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And not only is he a devout follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the one who understood Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, the Abhishta, what is dearmost to the Manaha, to the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what we are going to get here is completely free from 4 defects. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, I would like to ask you, Prabhu, what are the 4 defects? Can you please tell us?
From pramad vipralipsa karnapatava, which translates to illusion, making mistakes, cheating, and imperfect senses.
Yes. So, illusion, making mistakes, cheating, and imperfect senses. And Prabhu, amongst these 4, when somebody is learning about the absolute truth from someone, which is the most important defect that should not be present? Can you please tell me according to you?
So between the 4, I have to guess. Illusion, mistakes. I would guess cheating.
Yes. So the most important defect that should not be there in a guru is cheating tendency. Because sometimes a person ends up teaching us, but in the name of teaching, he ends up cheating us. So therefore, Vidya personified is afraid of such people who, in the name of teaching us, may end up cheating us. Therefore, she approaches a person who in all qualities is a brāhmaṇa and completely sense-controlled like Srila Rupa Gosvami. And she feels confident in the hands of such a person, because such a person will not make any compromises in distributing her to qualified people. So Srila Rupa Gosvami is such a person. When we learn from him, we know that this knowledge is free from the tendency to cheat others. And this is the most important quality of a teacher who is teaching us. When we want to learn about the absolute truth, when we want to learn about bhakti, we do not wish to be cheated. And therefore, we have found such a person in Srila Rupa Gosvami. Srila Rupa Gosvami, as I said last time, he was instructing Srila Jiva Gosvami, and Srila Jiva Gosvami was asking him that how is it that I should reside in Shri Vrindavan? How will my bhajan, how will my bhakti remain unhampered, in Shri Vrindavan Dham? And Sri Rupa Gosvami was beginning his instructions, and Sri Rupa Gosvami gives the first instruction to Srila Jiva Goswami, and this instruction is as follows. Vāco-vegam manasah krodha-vegam Jihva-vegam udaropastha-vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhīrah sarvāmapi imām prithivīm sashishyāt. So, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, you'll have to help me translating the verse. So, Prabhu, would you like to help me in translating the verse?
Whatever you like, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, Prabhu, I'll read the word by word, the Sanskrit, and you please read the English translation.
Okay.
Sa
That.
dhīrah
Sober individual.
yo, that is yah,
Who
vishaheta
tolerates
etan
these
vegan
urges,
vāco-vegam
namely the urge of speech,
manasah
the urge of the mind,
krodha-vegam
the urge of anger,
jihva-vegam
the urge of the tongue,
udara upastha-vegam
the urges of the belly and sex organs,
shishyāt
can potentially instruct
api
even
imam
this
sarvam
entire
prithivim.
earth.
So devotees can check if all the terms have been included in this word for word. And Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, all you have to do now is just read the English in the same sequence that we read. But just read the English, Prabhu. Can you please read the English?
Yes. That sober individual who tolerates these urges, namely the urge of speech, the urge of the mind, the urge of anger, the urge of the tongue, the urges of the belly and sex organs, can potentially instruct even this entire earth.
See, Prabhu, it's so simple. You translated the entire verse on your own. By doing word for word, it becomes so easy to translate the verse. But I have rearranged the terms. So such rearrangement, so that you can automatically get your own translation, such rearrangement is known as anvaya. So what we have done right now is anvaya of the verse. That means we have arranged the terms in such a way that it can give us a meaningful translation of the verse. So what we have here now is a plain vanilla translation of the verse, and you can see each and every term, and no term has been left out. So once we have understood each and every term, and once no term has been left out, then we can say that we have some basic understanding of the verse. So currently we have a basic understanding of the verse. I also recited the verse. So those devotees who wish to memorize the verse, they can have a look at the recording, which I'll post, and then they can recite the verse. But in reciting the verse, there is something which should be known, that every verse has a specific meter. So in this detailed study, I will also specify the meter of each and every verse of Upadeshamritam. So the first verse itself is having a slightly difficult meter. Why? Because in this very first verse, all 4 lines have 11 syllables each. But the issue here is that the arrangement of long and short syllables in each line is different. So every line has 11 syllables, but every line is supposed to have a fixed arrangement of short and long, lagu and guru syllables. But in this particular verse, Each line is having a completely different arrangement of short and long syllables. When this happens, and it happens in a rare condition, the acharyas of Chanda Shastra or the acharyas of Sanskrit meters or Sanskrit prosody, they say that this is a special type of meter called as upajāti. So the meter of this verse is upajāti, and every line has 11 syllables. So this is the name of the meter. So those devotees who wish to know what is the name of the meter is upajāti. Once again, I will sing it. Vāco-vegam manasah krodha-vegam jihva-vegam udaropastha-vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhīrah sarvam api imam prithivim sashishyat. So this is how we can sing the first verse. This is one way of singing. There can be many more ways of singing the same meter. Now that we have understood each and every term on a basic level in the verse, it is time to move ahead and get into the details. So we have to get into each and every detail of this particular verse. And it may take some time. Maybe we may take a few sessions to complete the first verse. But I wish to give a thorough treatment to each and every verse so that we can understand Upadeshamritam nicely. This is a book for newcomers, as Srila Prabhupada said. So not only newcomers, but even advanced devotees will find this literature to be very beneficial. So it is important that we should have a detailed look at the literature. In English, it is said, love is in the details. So if an artist looks at a painting, so an artist doesn't simply look at a painting from a distance and say, yeah, this is nice. I like the painting. So simply saying this is not good enough for an artist. Similarly, it is not good enough for us to have just a basic understanding of such an important text. Srila Prabhupada often said that we should study from multiple angles in order to strengthen our understanding. And if any doubts arise in studying from various angles, we should have the capability of resolving those doubts. So we should not run away from doubts just because, we are studying from multiple angles, and we should not avoid studying from multiple angles just because, we are having so many doubts. So a study from multiple angles gives us fresh doubts. And not only does it give us fresh doubts, it gives us an opportunity to resolve those fresh doubts and to further strengthen our understanding of the Siddhanta. That is what makes a good Paka student of Shastra. So we have understood the meter of the verse, how to sing the verse, and a basic plain vanilla understanding of the verse. Now, before I continue, I would like to highlight the term Shishyat. This is an important term, and I have chosen to translate here Shishyat as can potentially instruct. Although this term could have been translated in 2 or 3 more ways, but how I have chosen to translate here is can potentially instruct even this entire earth. So a sober individual, a dhīra, who tolerates these vegas, these urges, the 6 urges are mentioned. But such a person, after having tolerated these 6 urges, he can potentially instruct even this entire earth. Let us compare this translation with the translation of Srila Prabhupada. So, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, can you please read the translation of Srila Prabhupada?
Yes, Prabhu. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Yes. So I have added emphasis here. He is qualified to make disciples. Doesn't mean that he will go ahead and actually start making each and every one his disciple, Shiksha or Diksha disciple. Doesn't mean that. So Srila Prabhupada also says in a way that he is potentially qualified, and he's qualified to potentially make everyone his disciples all over the world. So the term here is, important term here is Shishyat. Now this term should be analyzed by us, because by understanding the various meanings of this term, we will get a clear understanding as to why Srila Prabhupada has also said is qualified. Not that he should go ahead and do it. Srila Prabhupada could have gone ahead and given us an order. Srila Prabhupada could have translated like this: a sober person who can tolerate all these urges must make disciples all over the world. But Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, has Srila Prabhupada translated it like that?
No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't translated like that. Shishyat, according to Sanskrit grammar, Shishyat is vidhiling. Vidhiling is a technical Sanskrit grammar term, which means it can describe the mood of compulsory instruction. So one meaning of Shishyat can be compulsory instruction, which means Shishyat can also be translated as he must instruct this entire earth. But if we take this meaning, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, that he must instruct this entire earth, will it be a proper translation of the term Shishyat? What do you think, Prabhuji?
I couldn't say grammatically speaking for Sanskrit. I just think of last class where you said that this is meant for devotees.
Okay, but let's say, I'm saying from Sanskrit it is justified that you can translate it like that, that one must instruct this entire earth. So we can also have that translation. But if we have that translation, will there be a problem?
Not everyone's open to instruction.
Okay, very good. Not everyone is open to instruction. Very nice. So not everyone is qualified. And secondly, it is physically also not feasible to try and instruct everyone on this planet. So definitely, if we take this meaning that Shishyat is compulsory instruction, then nobody will be able to follow this instruction of Srila Rupa Gosvami nicely and completely. So Shishyat doesn't mean compulsory instruction here. Another meaning of Shishyat can also be prayer. So it can also mean Srila Rupa Goswami is praying that may such a person instruct this entire earth. May such a person instruct this entire earth. So it can also mean prayer. But this meaning is also not correct, because it doesn't look suitable for a guru to pray to his potential disciple. So a guru ideally does not pray to his disciple saying, now that you have controlled all these urges, I pray to you that please instruct the entire earth. This doesn't look good upon a guru to pray to his disciple. Ideally, the disciple is supposed to pray to the guru. So this meaning of Shishyat also doesn't logically make a lot of sense. Another meaning is benediction, Ashirling. So I bless you. That sober individual who has controlled these 6 urges, I bless him to instruct the entire earth. This can also be one of the potential translations. But in this case also, it is not so appropriate, because if after blessing someone, if that particular person doesn't end up instructing the entire earth, then that blessing becomes in a way ineffective. So therefore, benediction is also not the mood of Shishyat. The exact mood of Shishyat is Kamachar. Kamachar is a technical term which means, you request somebody to do something, and then to do it or to not do it is upon the desire of that particular individual. So that is called as Kamachar. For example, I invite somebody to a particular program. I would say there is a wedding in my family. please come to the wedding. So it's a request, but to fulfill that request is dependent upon the desire of the person who has been invited. So this is kamachar. So the person who controls these 6 urges, it is up to that person whether that person wishes to potentially instruct the entire earth or not. So therefore, the most ideal translation is can potentially instruct even this entire earth. Now, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, there is something hidden in the verse. Srila Rupa Gosvami is giving an open invitation to instruct the entire earth. Prabhuji, does this sound okay? Or is there something hidden behind this instruction? What do you think, Prabhu?
I think there's something hidden because you said so, but I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Because how can we find? I mean, I'm unable to comprehend that Srila Rupa Goswami will someday come and say, now I give you permission to instruct the entire earth. So there is something hidden, because to give such an open permission definitely means that Srila Rupa Goswami has something in his mind behind this. And Srila Rupa Goswami is so broad-minded that he has not kept any boundaries on this verse. Srila Rupa Goswami could have said, a sober person who controls these 6 urges and only who belongs to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya can instruct the entire world. Srila Rupa Goswami could have said like that. Or he could have said, a sober person who controls these 6 urges and only who belongs to my group can instruct the entire world. But that sort of narrow-mindedness is not to be found in Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami has not made the verse Sampradaya specific or group specific. Srila Rupa Goswami has kept the verse open. If tomorrow somebody asks us, who can become a guru? This verse is our answer. Vāco-vegam, manasah krodha-vegam, Jiva-vegam, udaropastha-vegam, etan vegan yo vishahet adhiraha, sarvam api imam prithivim sa shishyat. This is our answer to any such query as to who can become guru. And this verse is not restricted either to a sampradaya, either to a group of individuals, or to an institution. This is a verse applicable to each and everyone who fits the criteria. This is the open-mindedness of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose such an open-minded individual, an individual who is truly a brāhmaṇa, not a kripana, a miser, somebody who is a broad-minded brāhmana, to compose works like Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. So, there is something hidden behind this. Srila Rupa Goswami is instructing, through Jiva Goswami, he is also instructing newcomers on the path of bhakti. And when newcomers who are there on the path of bhakti, they see various devotees who are senior to them. And Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, you might have seen, when we see senior devotees often receive a lot of respect. Have you seen this, Prabhu, in the temples?
Yes.
And what does a new devotee often think when he sees such senior devotees receiving respect? Does the new devotee also somewhere in his mind aspire that maybe someday I can also become a senior devotee?
I think so.
Yes. Srila Rupa Goswami is encouraging that new devotee. Definitely you can become such a devotee. What to speak of these few devotees? The entire earth will honor you. The entire earth will become potentially an object of instruction for you if you manage to fulfill these conditions. There is obviously something hidden. And what is hidden is that by the time a person manages to conquer these 6 urges, such a person will have very little or no desire remaining to create disciples for his own personal sense gratification. So by the time a person successfully manages to control these 6 urges, a person will no longer have the desire to create disciples for personal sense gratification. Because you can tell me, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, what are the benefits that a guru gets from his disciples? Can you please list a few benefits of the material world that a guru gets from his disciple?
Yeah. Worship, distinction, adoration, material, resources, free housing, food, money, followers, servants who do whatever you like. It's practically unlimited.
Yeah. Each and every one of these things can potentially deviate a person from the position of controlling these 6 urges. Each of which can set a person away from the path of these 6 urges. So a person who has controlled these 6 urges will finally think, after I have controlled these 6 urges with such great effort, do I need to unsettle myself again by having so many disciples? The answer is an obvious no, because he has attained something great after a lot of effort. Therefore, a person who is situated, sthita pragya, as they say in Bhagavad Gita, will not want to become a person who is again addicted to sense enjoyment. Therefore, this is like covering a bitter medicine with a sweet coating. The promise is being given. Yes, you will be able to instruct the entire earth. But what is not being told is that in the future, I will give you another instruction. And what is the other instruction that Srila Rupa Gosvami will give to the devotee who studies a little more? And the instruction that Srila Rupa Gosvami will give is Na Shishyan Anubadhnita. And Prabhu, you can read the translation.
One must not collect many disciples.
Yes, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 13th chapter, verse number 8. But this is also one of the 64 limbs of sadhan bhakti. So, Prabhu, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, one instruction from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu says that you should not collect many disciples. And Upadeshamrit straightforward says that you can instruct and initiate the entire world. How do we reconcile both of these?
I would say you can accept disciples to the extent that you're capable of maintaining those 6 elements of self-control.
Yes. Very nice. So, therefore, in this Bhagavatam verse, Na Shishyan Anubadhnita, one must not collect many disciples. So, this is a very potent instruction. And Srila Prabhupada also supports this in many places. And Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, in Nectar of Instruction, in Nectar of Devotion, when Prabhupada is translating this section, the heading Prabhupada gives is not accepting unfit disciples. So this is one of the headings of the Nectar of Devotion. In another purport, Srila Prabhupada says something, and Prabhu, you can kindly read this, Prabhu.
Sometimes the spiritual master takes the risk of being overwhelmed by the sinful reactions of the disciples and undergoes a sort of tribulation due to their acceptance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised that one not accept many disciples.
Yes, and you can see the beauty of it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised that one not accept many disciples. One of the beauty of Vedic culture is that things are often left to the individual to decide. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have given us fixed number. One should not accept more than 5 disciples, or one should not accept more than 10 disciples. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, and Srimad Bhagavatam says, one should not accept many disciples. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, is many fixed for everyone, or is many variable for everyone?
I was just welcoming His Holiness Rama Swami, and I lost the train of thought there.
My pranams to Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for kindly being here. We are very honored that you are present in this assembly. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yes, Prabhu. So I said one of the beauty of Vedic culture is that many has not been given a fixed number. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says one should not accept many disciples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have put a fixed number that one should not accept more than 5 disciples. One should not accept more than 10 disciples. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says one should not accept many disciples. So Prabhu, is many fixed for everyone or is it variable for everyone?
Variable.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of Vedic culture, that it lets every person make a conscious decision for themselves. How much does many mean? Different people can decide according to what Shastra says. Some people can say, I will live up to the standard of Rishabdev. Rishabdev says one should not become a guru if one is unable to deliver his disciple. And we have heard this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 18. We have heard this verse. Somebody else may say, I will become a guru only to those person whom I can instruct nicely. Some other people may say, I will become a guru to many people because my guru has instructed me to do so. So the number is not fixed here, but every devotee should make a conscious decision after looking at what Shastra has to say. Some devotees may accept many disciples. Some devotees may accept few disciples. But Shastra has clearly given an indication. Not only an indication, Srila Prabhupada in the purport almost makes it a warning that one should not accept many disciples. And Srila Prabhupada also says in another purport, and Prabhu, you can kindly read this purport.
The spiritual master cannot accept service from a disciple without awarding him spiritual instruction.
Yes. So these are all the references in Shastra where Prabhupada is saying that a guru should accept a disciple when the guru is capable of shishyat, instructing the disciple. If the guru is not capable of shishyat, then Srila Prabhupada often recommends that such a person should not accept a disciple. So this is the general line of thought which I wish to give. So I don't wish to get into specific details because different devotees receive different orders from their guru. Srila Prabhupada's own guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, instructed him to preach far and wide. And Srila Prabhupada made thousands of disciples. Some other gurus make few disciples. Some gurus prefer not to make anyone their disciple. My respects to all these people. All of their motivations are so nice and bona fide. So their motivations are different. Somebody's motivation is prachar. Somebody's motivation is bhajan. My respects to all of them. But to show the general guideline of Shastra is my duty. Therefore, I am saying that although Srila Rupa Gosvami has promised the new devotee that if you control these 6 urges, you will be able to potentially instruct the entire earth. But Srila Rupa Gosvami later will give a warning to that same disciple that one of the limbs of sadhana bhakti is na shishyan anubadhnita. Don't collect too many disciples. Because once you collect too many disciples, there is a heavy possibility of having disciples that are unqualified. Disciples that turn up only on Vyas Puja days and are not to be found on any other day in the year. Disciples who only pay lip service to the Guru and who do not follow the instructions of the Guru. Srila Rupa Goswami warns us later in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu about this. Now is not a time for warning. Now is a time for encouraging the new devotee. Yes, you can potentially instruct the entire world. You only have to do this thing. Control these 6 urges. It's like giving a comb to a person who will later be shaved. So the person doesn't know yet. But Srila Rupa Goswami is giving the comb. Later, Srila Rupa Goswami will also give the blade to shave his hair. Then the person will ask Rupa Goswami, why did you give me the comb? Because I wanted to encourage you initially in your path towards serious bhajan. Therefore, initially I gave you the comb. Although later, like Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, he will be completely clean shaved. So this is the reason why Srila Rupa Goswami is giving initial encouragement to a new devotee. Please try to understand there is a lot of hidden meaning behind what the acharyas say. We have to go into great depths in order to understand the abhipraya, the hidden intention of the acharya. So the same acharya will not give contradictory statements. Srila Rupa Goswami knows that the Bhagavatam has given an instruction against making too many disciples. Still he is encouraging somebody. Is Srila Rupa Goswami trying to speak something which is against the Bhagavatam? Definitely not. But a new devotee is given such instructions to encourage them. So this is the conclusion of the term Shishya. You see, we delve into one term and we can forget ourselves just in one term, explaining one term. This is the beauty of Shastra, that you can take one term and you can spend hours and hours trying to explain that term. So we have tried to understand the term Shishyat. Now, we will move ahead from here. The important thing is that there are 6 Vegas or urges being mentioned here. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, how do we translate the term Vega?
Urges.
Urges. So Vega, one meaning of Vega is urges. There are 2 popular meanings given in the Shastra about the term Vega. Vega pravaha javayorapi, says Amarkosh. One meaning of Vega is flow. So flow also means Vega. Just like we say Jala Vega, the flow of water. So Vega also means flow. Vega also means swiftness. As we say Vayu Vega, the swiftness of wind. These 2 are also correct meanings of the term Vega. But these 2 are not applicable here because usually flow and swiftness are applicable to non-living entities like wind and water. The term Vega here is used by Srila Rupa Goswami especially in the context of a living entity, and therefore we are translating the term Vega as urge, not as flow or swiftness, because Vega can also refer to non-living entities Vega, the Vega of water, the Vega of wind, but here Vega refers to the Vega of a human being. How is the term Vega defined in relation to a human being? It's very important to understand what is the definition of Vega in relation to a living human being, because a dead person doesn't have any Vegas. See a person who has died, and you can try to agitate him in all sorts of ways. He will not react in any way. Doesn't mean that he has become qualified to instruct the entire earth. That person is dead. He can't instruct anybody. So therefore, this Vega refers to Vega in context specifically of a living human being, because only a living human being can have urges. So what is the definition of Vega? So in order to understand that, we have to take help of that literature which defines the various characteristics of living beings, that is Ayurveda. Ayurveda says, Pravritti unmukhatvam Vegaha. So Prabhuji, you can read the translation.
A motivation to satisfy a tendency is known as Vega, urge.
Yes. Do you like this definition, Prabhu?
It seems very general.
Yes, it seems very general. A motivation to satisfy a tendency is known as Vega, urge. According to Ayurveda, there are 2 types of Vegas in body. Dharaniya and Adharaniya. Dharaniya means Vegas, urges which should be controlled. Adharaniya means Vegas or urges which should not be controlled. There are some Vegas in body. There are some urges in body which should never be controlled. You may be surprised on hearing this, but there are some urges in body which Ayurveda says should never be controlled. Example, Ayurveda gives all the bodily Vegas. For example, the Vega or the urge to pass water, the urge to sneeze, the urge to discard waste, the urge to cough. There are 13 such vegas. If you try to control and subdue these vegas, then your body will become seriously ill in due course of time. If a person wakes up in the morning, he has a vega. Vega is he has to go to the restroom and relieve himself. So, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, should a person try to control this vega?
At least until you get to the bathroom, obviously, but you shouldn't try to eliminate it.
Yeah. So, a person should not try to control this vega or should not try to subdue this vega. So, this is called as an adharaniya vega. A vega, an urge which should never be controlled. If a person tries to stop this vega, he will have bodily disease. But then there are some dharaniya, controllable urges. So those are urges mainly pertaining to the mind and to the speech. So if you see, most of these urges are centering around the mind and the speech. Although they are mentioning some physical limbs such as udara, stomach, belly, and upastha, genitals. But still, the root of all those vegas is in the mind. We know from Bhagavad Gita, the root of lust, the root of anger, the root of greed is within the mind. So mainly, if the control of mind is achieved, we can control these 6 urges. So we have understood what is vega. We got a general definition of vega, but then we also made it specific. Vegas are of 2 kinds, controllable and uncontrollable in the body. Some vegas should never be controlled. Some vegas should definitely be controlled. Because these vegas, when we control them, they never lead to any physical disease or any mental disease. But when we control them, it makes us eligible to perform our bhajan nicely. It eliminates the disturbance in our bhakti. Why does Srila Rupa Gosvami want us to control these vegas? The reason is because by controlling them, our own disturbances in bhakti will go away. All these vegas cause disturbance, interference, hindrance in bhakti. A person, when he becomes attracted by Jiva vega, the urge to taste something nice, he wastes at least half an hour in trying to find that object, in trying to eat that object, after eating that object, in trying to feel satisfied after eating it, then washing his hands, and then coming back to the topic which he was working upon. You see, just to satisfy one urge takes away so much time. Srila Rupa Goswami's primary emphasis here is that a person should make his bhajan as favorable as possible. And that happens when a person saves as much time as possible. And that happens when a person is free from distractions. And that only happens when a person manages to control these vegas which are meant to be controlled. Vāco-vegam, manasah-krodha-vegam, jihva-vegam, udara-upastha-vegam. Controlling these urges will make a person free from unnecessary disturbances. Srila Rupa Goswami is not that strict teacher who's holding a stick in his hand and whose mood is to act like a policeman. You know, I will only consider you qualified if you manage to control these 6. This is not the mood of Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami's mood is very broad-minded, liberal, and he's trying to tell us that I am telling you for your benefit. Please control the 6 urges so that your time and in bhajan, your time in your quality bhajan will be saved. You will be free of distractions. You will be free of unwanted things, anyabhilash, in your bhajan. And that is what will attract Bhagavan's mercy, Krishna's mercy. So this mood, the mood of a loving, instructing father, is the mood of Srila Rupa Goswami here. And this is how we should perceive his mood when we study his verses. In a single verse of Rupa Goswami, you will never find him hard-hitting on anyone. You can see all the verses that Rupa Goswami has written. And each devotee can try to visualize what image of Rupa Goswami do they have in their mind. I can guarantee you there is no devotee who has an image of Rupa Goswami as a very strict teacher, All devotees, the image that they have of Srila Rupa Goswami is of a very gentle, sober, instructing, father-like personality. This is exactly what Srila Rupa Goswami is. Dhira adhira jana priyau. That he is not only dear to a person who is dhira. The term dhira is in this verse, sober individual. But he is also dear to a person who is adhira, who is not sober. So Rupa Goswami is currently instructing a person who is adhira, who is not sober. Still, Rupa Goswami's mood is of a gentle, instructing father. This we should very clearly know. So no strict instructions, no holding a stick in the hand, no acting like a policeman. Rupa Goswami is very gentle. With this mood, everybody will want to learn from such a personality. So this is what is the meaning of the term Vega. Now, for our final part, we will start delving into the first Vega. Today, we may not be able to finish all the Vegas because, as I said, it is a detailed study. So we have to study everything in good amount of detail. So even if it takes multiple sessions to cover one verse, that's not an issue with us. We have all the time in the world. So we will go slowly and we will cover each and every term so that we understand everything to a good degree of satisfaction. So we will try delving into the first Vega. The first Vega, Srila Rupa Goswami says, is vaco-vegam, vāco-vegam, the urge of speech. Now, what have the previous acharyas, previous commentators said about the meaning of vaco-vegam? So previous commentators, I mentioned the commentators in the previous talk. There are three main commentators, Shri Radharaman Goswami, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura Mahashaya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. So these are the prominent three previous commentators. And current commentary is by Srila Prabhupada. So we have total 4 commentators. So what have the previous commentators tried to say about this? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, in his commentary, has said vaco-vegam means bhuta udvega kari vakya vega. So what does this mean? So vega, the urge to speak vakyas, to speak statements which are udvegakari, disturbing to or troubling to bhuta, other living entities. So according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, to control vaco-vegam means to control that speech, to restrict that speech which troubles other living entities. This reminds us of a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, because there is a term udvega which very clearly is taken from a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, do you know which verse from the Bhagavad Gita this is inspired from? Okay. So this is the verse, Prabhu. Anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya hitam chayat swadhyaya bhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is giving austerity of speech. Shri Krishna is specifying what is austerity of speech, because if you want to control speech, you should have austere speech. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has made the connection between this verse and that verse which gives austere speech in the Bhagavad Gita. And the first characteristic that Krishna says is anudvegakara. It should not generate udvega. Udvega means trouble or agitation in other living entities. The same term udvega is taken by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura says uncontrolled speech is bhuta udvegakari vakya, that which gives trouble to other living entities. So it's very important to understand how to have controlled speech. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has given us that connecting thread. So we can have controlled speech if we have austere speech. And what is austere speech? Austere speech is defined by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. All right, let's go ahead and study this verse of Bhagavad Gita, because it is important to understand what is austere speech. So this is Bhagavad Gita 17:15. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. So Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, and Srila Prabhupada translates. So, Prabhu, you can read the translation and you can see the 4 characteristics of austere speech, Prabhu. Please go ahead and read the translation.
Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are 1, truthful, 2, pleasing, 3, beneficial, and 4, not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature.
Yeah. So, why did I not put 5 as why did I not put the final point as number 5? Because the previous acharyas say that good speech has 4 essential characters. Anudvegakaram. It should not agitate the other person. First characteristic. Don't speak in a way which agitates others. Vakyam. Vakyam is the main word, all other are adjectives. Vakyam should also be satyam, truthful. Don't speak sweet lies. Just because you're speaking sweet doesn't mean you end up speaking lies. So don't speak sweet lies. Third is priya. It should be pleasing to the ear of the listener. And fourth is hitam. It should lead to ultimate benefit, not just immediate benefit, but also ultimate benefit. And if you can't do these 4, then keep quiet and indulge in regular study and recitation of Vedic literature. So therefore, I have not mentioned this as point number 5. If you speak, speak with 4 characteristics. And if you can't speak with 4 characteristics, then indulge in regular recitation of Vedic literature. That is what the previous acharyas have hinted. This is how this verse should be understood. So if you can recite, if you can speak nicely to other people with these 4 characteristics, then speak. Otherwise, avoid such speech. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has told us that if we follow these characteristics of speech, then we have controlled speech. So we now know in clear terms what is the meaning of vāco-vegam according to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. That vāco-vegam means ensuring that our speech is up to the standard set by Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So I hope that is very clear. So this is one angle of vision of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Very nice, and we have explored this angle of vision nicely and sufficiently. We will go to another angle of vision. So another angle of vision is given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura says, what is meaning of vāco-vegam? What is the urge of speech? So he says, nirvishesha vadira shastriya jalpana samuha. This may sound like technical Bengali, but I'll try to make it easy for you. So, nirvishesh vadira shastriya jalpana samuha. Shastric speculations of the impersonalists. So whatever speculation the impersonalists give, that falls under the category of vāco-vegam. You see a completely different interpretation of vāco-vegam than what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura had done. So it's going on a completely different line. So vāco-vegam means the shastric speculations of the impersonalists. Now, this doesn't mean that whatever an impersonalist says is incorrect. Sometimes an impersonalist may speak correctly from the Shastra. He may speak correctly from the Bhagavatam. But wherever an impersonalist starts adding his own mental speculation about impersonalism, that falls under the category of vāco-vegam. So any jalpana, any speculation that an impersonalist adds to Shastra, that is falling under the category of vāco-vegam. The impersonalist, if he wants to become a devotee, he should control that. Second, he says, karma kanda niratera karma phalera shastra yukti. What does this mean? It means the various logics given about karma phala by a karma kandi. There are many people who are karmavadis, who believe in the philosophy of karma. So they say, if you don't perform karma, this universe cannot survive. The universe is surviving upon karma. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, you should also perform your swadharma, your karma. Otherwise, if the policeman stops policing, if the shopkeeper stops maintaining the shop, if everybody stops doing their karma, will the world work, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, or will it stop? What will happen to the world?
It'll be a disaster.
Wow. So therefore, understand that karma is very important and everybody has to perform their karma. So these sorts of arguments are not for a person who is on the path of bhakti. A person who is on the path of bhakti has a different adhikar, a different level of eligibility. These statements are not meant for him, because Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, out of thousands of people, one person aims for perfection. The remaining 999 are anyways going to do their karma. They don't need this logic by the karma kandi. So they don't need this logic. This logic should not be given to that one person who has become eligible for bhakti. This logic may be given to 999 people who are not eligible for bhakti, but not to that one person who has become eligible for bhakti. So if a person who is eligible for bhakti, if he hears such arguments from a karma kandi, so that becomes vāco-vegam, and he should also not himself speak, he should not hear from another person. And third, he says is Krishna itara abhirashira yathecha bhogera anubhav janya vakyavali. So in simple English, the experiential statements of various enjoyments made by those who have desires other than service to Krishna. So people who are sense enjoyers, who have other desires, they have experience of sense enjoyment, they will define it in various ways. They will sing songs in the movies about their sense enjoyment. They will, they will make elaborate descriptions of their sense enjoyment. So that all falls in the category of vāco-vegam, and a person should not fall prey to such vāco-vegam. So these are the three different variations of vāco-vegam as defined by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. So Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, was this interpretation the same as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, or did we have a completely different interpretation?
Completely different. I wasn't referring to the quality of speech, but the content.
Yes. Did it improve? Do you feel it improved our understanding of the various facets of vāco-vegam?
I think so, because someone could very pleasingly speak in personal philosophy. You could argue it's not beneficial, but then we elaborate on how it's not.
So definitely having different points of view strengthens our understanding of the Siddhanta. This is why Srila Prabhupada always emphasizes that one should read not only from one point of view, but from different points of view. Tomorrow, if somebody asks us, what is vāco-vegam? We should not only be able to give the plain vanilla translation, the urge of speech. We should be able to say, speech that is anudvega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. Speech that is not nirvisheshvadira shastriya jalpana samuha, that is not karma kanda niratera karma phalera shastra yukti, or that is not krishnetar abhilashira yathecha bhogera anubhav janya vakyavali. We should be able to convey the meanings of all these statements. Then we can convince a person what is the full and thorough meaning of vāco-vegam. So with this, we have tried to enter into the first Vega. Now, I will pause here my speech today, because I could have spoken much more. Next time also, I will continue vāco-vegam. We have seen the previous acharyas, but I said this series of lectures will not only explore previous acharyas, but some fresh realizations also we should churn out. Fresh, but bona fide and from the Shastra, no speculations. So we'll try to churn out some fresh realizations also, because every generation, Prabhupada expected, every generation should write something new realization which doesn't contradict the previous acharyas, which adds value to the realizations of the previous acharyas, and which keeps us Hare Krishna movement. Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, what is the meaning of movement? Things should
keep going and progressing, developing.
Yes. Otherwise we'll become Hare Krishna stagnant after a few generations. So in order to keep it Hare Krishna movement, we should continue flowing. We should continue having these newer realizations which are in line with Shastra, with Sadhu, and with Guru. With this, I would like to pause my speech today with the final quote from Srila Prabhupada. This is the purport, the entire purport to that verse of Bhagavad Gita which we quoted today. So Prabhu, kindly read this.
Yes, Prabhu. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech.
Beautiful. You see, Prabhupada is so simple in his instruction. Oftentimes, we are instructing people who are not our students. Prabhupada very clearly says, a teacher can speak the truth, but a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students if he will agitate their mind. Srila Prabhupada brings out a subtle point that a teacher sometimes can speak harshly to his students. A teacher can sometimes speak harshly to his students, but only to his students, not to anyone else. A teacher should not speak harshly to someone who is not his or her student. And Srila Prabhupada brings out another important point. One should at once quote from Shastra to back up what he is saying. So this is very much important. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by Shastra. It's very important. This culture, to develop this culture is very important, because our sampradaya, there are many sampradayas where you go and ask, why do you follow this? So they will say, because our guru, they call their guru as Baba, Babaji, because our guru says so. Because our guru says so. Then the sampradaya becomes Baba Vakyam Pramanam, that Baba's words are Praman. So our sampradaya should not become Baba Vakyam Pramanam. Our sampradaya should become Shastra Vakyam Pramanam. And this is the standard, gold, 24 karat gold standard set by Srila Prabhupada in his purport. So once again, I would like to thank all of you for kindly assembling here. So it's 10 here. We have 20 minutes more if somebody wants to ask something or if there are any questions. So I would like to give some time for some questions, queries, suggestions, criticisms. I did not like this point. So please feel free to speak that. Now is the time. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva menahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If I made any mistake, definitely. I might have made many mistakes. But vidvamsah, you are all learned devotees, purayantu tat. You correct the mistakes. Please don't mind me making mistakes. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there's anything nice in the class, please remember, tad guroreva. Everything I learned was from my gurus. How to write the alphabet on paper, beginning from that, up to reciting upajāti and explaining word by word. Everything was learned from my gurujanas. May nahi. So it doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Srila Rupa Gosvami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Jiva Gosvami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura Mahashaya ki jai. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Hari Parsha Prabhu. I'm just so delighted for the opportunity to have these classes with you, because not only is it very sweet and detailed, but I just feel like we can really trust that you're channeling the information from authoritative sources, and everything is just very genuine with our tradition. So thank you very much. And we'll start with a question from Ananda Gopika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Ananda Gopika Mataji.
Gopika.
I think
We'll
she raised.
Unmutes. Her hand's raised, but she's muted and not responding.
Okay, so let's go to next.
Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Jai Dwarka Prabhu Jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Happy to be a part of this wonderful session. Actually, I could not attend first one because of my internet. So I was very feeling unfortunate that even the recording is also not available. But
there is a recording. Please don't feel depressed. There is a recording being done in progress. It will be done in day or two.
Okay.
So it will be done. Please don't worry. I'll upload that also. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your kind efforts and such lovely presentations you give and clear Siddhantas. That is really amazing and very enlightening, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question here in this case was from this vāco-vegam part, where you explained the this commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. I was thinking that he has covered actually everything apart from Krishna Katha.
Right.
So I was and even so I was thinking that how it will be possible, because till the time we are completely purified, there will naturally be some experiential statements from the person. So I think that there becomes no scope for a conditioned soul to preach, because whatever he will be speaking from whatever he has experienced from his experiential knowledge with the conditioned state.
Right.
So how to understand this, Prabhuji?
A very, very nice question. So the question is, and I'll simplify by rephrasing it, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, if you look at the criteria for vāco-vegam that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura has put, it is such a strict criteria that within that small bracket, only pure Krishna Katha will be there and nothing else will be there. So how can a conditioned soul pass through that narrow bracket that has been set by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura? So I hope that is what you are trying to ask, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura has said it is vaco-vegam. When it becomes a vega, when you are speaking something, not because it is helpful to your bhajan, but because speaking like that has become a vega. It has become a habit within you. I hope you are able to understand. He's hinting at that.
Yes.
So when such speech turns into a vega, when you are not able to control the outburst of such speech, even though you know that you should be controlling it, that is what falls in the category of vega. Otherwise, in general, somebody may ask you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, how is your health? So it's not that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura will come and say, hey, wow, vāco-vegam. So that's not what it is. But if every day, I start joking with you, Jai Dwarka Prabhu, is your health okay today? Every day I start asking you in a joking fashion. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura will come and say, now it has become a vega. Now you should stop this. So I hope you are able to understand the distinction. When you start taking flavor in it, when you start taking pleasure in it, that's when you should understand that the fine border between avega and vega has been breached.
Okay. So does this also covers, Prabhuji, because I have seen in many cases that conditioned soul generally has this tendency to explain whatever he has understood by his conditioned senses in a very like assertive way, without giving any room for accepting other people's opinion also. That this is the way this thing is mentioned.
Right.
So some people become fanatic about Siddhanta also. Does this cover that also?
No. When the conditioned soul speaks something out of his experience and in a very forceful way, that is basically manasaha vega. It's the urge of the mind manifesting itself. A good devotee will first be receptive, because Shravanam is the character. Shravan Dasha is the first Dasha. Later in Upadeshamritam it will come up that what is the first stage expected for a new devotee? Shravan Dasha. You hear. Your experience is important, but you are not the center of the universe. So you should, by not considering yourself as the center of the universe, you should first put Shastra as the center of the universe and hear what Shastra has to say. And by hearing Shastra, our misconceptions will automatically be clarified, and then we will realize, oh, I was thinking myself as very intelligent, but actually Shastra proved me otherwise. So, pragya vadamscha bhashase, Shastra will prove that you are speaking very intelligently, but actually, we don't know. That is what Shastra will prove to us. But we have to give a receptive ear. So, this what you are saying is technically, it's an outcome of manasaha vegam, the urge of the mind. And that results in uncontrolled speech coming out. As I said in the beginning of the class, many of the urges, most of the urges are linked to the mind. That's what it is, basically.
Yes.
All right. I hope I could. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, sure.
Okay, Ananda Gopika doesn't have her hand raised anymore. Did you have a question, Mataji? Okay.
It was by mistake, but thank you so much
Okay.
for sharing.
All right, thank you. Hare Krishna. Bhakti's iPhone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
Hare-
thank you for the wonderful class. This is Bhakti Lata from Maryland. I have a question on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation of vāco-vegam on the 4 attributes of truthful, it being truthful, beneficial, pleasing, and not agitating to others. My question is that many a times, practically, I speak something that is truthful and beneficial, but it is I've seen many times again, it's not pleasing to others and it is agitating to others because it's the truth.
Hmm.
And this happens most all the time.
Right.
So how do we actually, because it's not in my control, right? It's that other person's perception of not feeling happy and feeling agitated. So how do we actually implement this particular shloka? Thank you.
Okay. So, see, in the modern world, this is often a characteristic of the modern world, that it is the listener who is taking it incorrectly. We are speaking correctly. There's no problem with us. But it is the listener who is not perceiving it correctly. So it's the perceiver who is incorrect. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has not put the onus of controlled speech on the perceiver. He has put the onus of controlled speech on the speaker. Krishna could have said that controlled speech is that which is perceived as pleasing, which is perceived as non-agitating. But Krishna did not put the onus on the receiver of the speech. Krishna put the onus on the speaker. There is a certain way of speaking which we can learn from many sadhus. And this way of speaking, if we learn in the association of sadhus, then we will be able to gradually train ourselves in speaking that. Srila Prabhupada often used to quote a verse from Manusmriti. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, ma bruyat, satyam apriyam. This is from the Manusmriti. It is not, the source is not listed in Srila Prabhupada verse books, but the source is Manusmriti. If one speaks the truth, he should speak it palatably. One should not speak unpalatable truth. And the Manusmriti says, Esha dharma sanatana. This is Sanatan dharma. This is the eternal duty of all living entities. There is an asterisk there. The asterisk says, Srila Prabhupada explains that this is only in relation to material truths. So many devotees take this asterisk. I hope you are able to see it on the screen. Many devotees take this, and say that when we are speaking spiritual truths, we can go ahead and be as offensive as we want. Because it's spiritual truth, so it has to be offensive. So kick them in the face with boots. Not every time. Because Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, and therefore I quoted the purport at the end, one should not speak like that only if somebody is their disciple. And the guru should also be sense controlled. The guru should not speak out of anger every time. The guru should be sense controlled. The guru should speak only to a disciple who is wayward in a strict manner. So that is when strict speech should be used. If we make strict speech the standard of our movement, then everybody will make strict speech the standard. If everybody, all of us, make strict speech the standard of our speech, then we will not be able to have a decent conversation with each other. What to speak of spiritual conversation, a decent conversation with each other. Therefore, speech should not be used as a sword to cut others. I am myself also guilty of this. I will tell you something from my own life. When I newly came in association of devotees. So I see a new devotee. So in my family, sometimes some relatives, they are not following all these strict rules of devotees because some distant family members, they are not devotees. So often I used to go to some wedding. In a wedding, they have food, and food, there is onion and garlic, which as a devotee, I will never eat. So some relatives come to me and say, hey, Harshad, and civil name is Harshad. Hey, Harshad, Hey, where in the Bhagavad Gita is it said that you should not eat onion and garlic? So they will try to taunt me like this. So that time I am not aware of any instruction in Shastra. So I kept quiet. I tolerated. Next time also, in another wedding, somebody taunted me like this. So then I became agitated. So then I went and started researching. Where in Shastra is it given? Then I found it is given in Manusmriti, 5th chapter, 5th verse. I memorized the verse immediately. Lashunam grunjanam chaiva palandum kavakani cha abhakshani dvijatinam medhya prabhavani cha. Garlic, onion, mushrooms, even carrots is mentioned there. Should not be eaten because they affect the brain. I memorized. Now I had a weapon with me. Next time I went to a wedding and same joke was played on me. So I said, Arey, you people are belonging to Bharat Varsha. You don't know what Shastra says? Manusmriti says, Lashunam grunjanam chaiva palandum kavakani cha. You should never eat onion and garlic. So they said, it is useless to argue with you. See, that is their response. It is useless to argue with you. So instead of convincing them, the end result was they stopped arguing, they went away, they were not convinced, and I could not be successful in my purpose. And the relationship is spoiled. See, this is what happens when you make even Shastra as a weapon. What to speak of making ordinary speech as weapon? When you make even Shastra as weapon, it hurts all your relationships. So therefore, Shastra has given these instructions to us. It is we, the onus of good speech is upon us. And that is what I would like to say. I hope this helps, Mataji.
Yes, very much. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I had a question about this. When does Shri Guru start instructing a disciple? Your Guru can be related to Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru.
Yeah.
What is the point when he starts giving instructions and not general instructions?
Very nice. So at what point does a guru start instructing the disciple? So it's very easy and it is mentioned in Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu. What is mentioned in Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu? I will point out the verse to you. This is Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division, second wave, and verse number 74. Let me share the verse with you. So Srila Rupa Gosvami says, you can see on the screen, Atha Angani, limbs of Bhakti. Guru Padashrayas. First limb is taking shelter of the Guru by saying to the Guru verbally, I am your disciple. Guru should accept verbally, yes, I accept you as disciple. And Tasmat Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. And from that point begins the Shiksha about bhajan from the Guru. So it's very clearly specified by Srila Rupa Gosvami. I hope it solves your query.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Prabhu, the general norm is that sometimes the Guru does not speak instructions or gives general instructions. So when is the time when he will start giving specific instructions?
After Diksha Adi Shikshanam. First comes Diksha, then Shikshanam. Then it gives you specific Shiksha. Because Diksha also means he is giving you specific instructions regarding the mantra. Then he also gives you specific instructions about how to practice your bhajan. Rupa Goswami could have simply said Krishna Diksha. But he said Krishna Diksha Adi Shikshanam. Not only receiving Diksha of Krishna mantra, but also Shikshanam, also receiving Shiksha. So this is Rupa Goswami's original words. So that is what it means. It means bhajan related Shiksha. Here Shiksha means bhajan related Shiksha. That is what you are asking, right?
Yes, Prabhu, yes.
Yes. So that is what here, that is what is indicated here. Krishna did not instruct Arjuna until second chapter. Arjuna went argument after argument after argument after argument. Why I should not fight? Krishna is silent. Then Arjuna says, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. Yat shreya syat nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham. I am your disciple. Shadhimam. Instruct me. Same verbal root, shas, where Rupa Goswami is saying shishyat. Same verbal root, shadhi. So please instruct me. Please instruct me. So till that time Krishna kept quiet. Then Krishna said, that you think you are speaking like an intelligent person, but that is not a fact, dear Arjun. I'm sorry to inform you that your speech is not aligned with the speech of Pandits. So this is what Krishna said to Arjun. So I hope you understand when Krishna chose to speak. So we should follow that
Yes.
example. All right?
Yes, sure. But for this, we have to be in physical proximity with the Guru.
Of course, we have to be in physical proximity. Matters so much. It matters so much. Seeing the behavior of the Guru teaches us 100 things. It's not simply hearing a tape. It's seeing the behavior of the Guru. Many times you can hear somebody speaking on a tape, but we know nothing about the character of the person. Nothing about the character of that person. The character of a person is revealed in personal association. Therefore we are aiming for personal association, right? Therefore, Rupa Goswami will say in Upadeshamritam, Tishthan Vraje Tadanuragi Jananugami. Stay in Vraja, in association of the Vrajavasis who are dear to Bhagavan. Why Rupa Goswami could have said, stay wherever you want and have a Zoom call with the Vrajavasis, or stay wherever you want and just hear somebody's instruction. But no, sir. Stay Anugami. You have to follow in the footsteps. To follow in the footsteps, you should see what their footsteps are, how they behave. That is very important. So, physical association, although we say Vani is ultimately very important, but Vapuhu is immediately very important. Please try to understand this. Vani is ultimately very most important, because when the Guru's Vapu will not be there, the Vani will guide us. But for the immediate need of the disciple, the Vapu Seva is, or to stay in association, physical proximity of the Guru is very important. And I give a very simple example, Omkar Prabhu. Sorry, it's 10:30 here. So we will continue our question and answers. But if devotees have some other seva, those who wish to go, they can go. But if some devotees have some seva, they can go. We'll continue for a few minutes more. I'll give a very simple example, Omkar Prabhu. What is the first thing that a child learns in kindergarten? What is the first thing that a teacher teaches them?
Alphabets. Or
Alphabets.
chosen
Yeah, all right. Alphabet. Can a student learn alphabet without the guidance of a personally present teacher?
Never.
You can give him a book, no, Prabhu?
He will not be able to do that.
Why? Why, Prabhu? Tell me.
He does not know, or he does not have any relation about what is this. I mean, he
Okay,
can't
so
relate it
you
to
can put a YouTube video there. So what? Put a YouTube video of a teacher speaking the alphabets.
But the physical, the explanation, like how the teacher explains, that is completely different, because it is not just words. There are emotions, or there are some subtle things.
We are
which
still
person
not
can
catching they are still not catching the important thread. In a YouTube video, a teacher may explain everything, but correction of the errors of the student will never happen in a YouTube video. If the student makes a mistake, who will correct the student? The YouTube video or the teacher who is physically present? Please tell me.
Teacher who is physically present.
Therefore, a physically present teacher is most needed. The most important reason for a physically present teacher is for the correction of the errors that the disciple makes. The most important reason for the physical presence of the teacher. There should be somebody to show a stick to the student when he is making a mistake. That is what is needed.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank
All
you.
right.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Now, Raj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a nice class. I wanted to ask about Bhaktivinoda Thakura explanation.
Right.
You said that you have kept 4 things in one category.
Yeah.
Anudvega karam vakyam, satyam priyam hitam chet. And you have kept swadhyaya differently. But Prabhupada says that whenever we speak, we should quote from scriptures.
Right.
So why you have kept swadhyaya separately?
Because Swadhyaya is self-study, not preaching to others. Swa Adhyaya is self-study. That is what is the meaning of Swa and Adhyaya. Swa means self, Adhyaya means study. So since it is Swa Adhyaya is not meant about speaking to others, it's meant about studying oneself. Therefore, the previous acharyas, not myself, the previous acharyas have put it in a different category. Why should I take the credit for myself? It's the previous acharyas who put it in a different category.
So when Prabhupada says that whenever we speak, we have to quote scripture, in which category does it fall?
So that is not swadhyay. That is the result of good swadhyay. That is prachar. I hope you are able to understand.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Somham Chavan.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I had a question that Narottama Das Thakura said we have to not do bhajanera prachar. So that also comes in the category of vāco-vegam, no?
Which prachar?
Like it, we have to not do bhajanera prachar. Bhajanera, apana bhajanera na prachar.
Yeah, right. So I'll elaborate your question for somebody who doesn't understand the term. Shri Narottama Das Thakura has said, apana bhajana katha na kahinu yatha tatha. Details of the specific type of bhajan that one is performing, details of the specific realizations, hidden realizations that one has had during bhajan should not be revealed here and there. All right, because it cheapens one's realization. Why are we in spiritual life, each and every one of us thinks we will get something special? If everybody is told, no, everybody will get plain vanilla ice cream at the end of the day, there's nothing special. Everybody thinks, Dhāmeśvara Prabhu thinks, when I attain perfection, my perfection will be special. Omkar Prabhu thinks, when I attain perfection, my perfection will be special. Soham Prabhu thinks, when I attain perfection, it will be something special. Now, if we start giving away our speciality to anyone and everyone and we start discussing it with them, then what is the point of having speciality? Speciality means it should exist between you and Bhagavan and Guru Janas. That is speciality. That is uniqueness of bhajan. So every devotee should have some private realizations which are only between these things. And it actually falls in, this type of speech. Actually, it falls in the desire for, it falls in those subtle aparats, that desire for puja and labh. One is speaking so that one will be worshipped by others. So therefore, it falls in that subcategory, Krishnetar, desires other than Krishna Bhakti. So that is the answer to your query.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Adityanath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a very wonderful class. The classes are increasing our desire to do deep study of the scriptures. And I have doubt, which is personal doubt, which is not that much related to this particular verse of NOI.
Okay.
Can I ask, Prabhuji?
So since we are already a little over time, can you maybe perhaps take it up in a separate private conversation with me? Do you have my contact, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. I'll drop you.
Yeah, please drop me an email because we'll try to focus here on Upadeshamritam related queries. All right. Thank you, Prabhu. All right. One final query by Jai Gaurang Prabhu and then we'll call it a day.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam.
Pranam.
Thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, in this shloka, Rupa Goswami mentioned this six, that one needs to control these six urges, but we hear that Prabhupada said the most important criteria for becoming Guru is that one should know the science of Krishna. But here, Rupa Goswami doesn't mention anything like when he makes disciple, what will he instruct? Like in which subject matter he will instruct. Also, it is understood that one can only control the six urges if he knows the essence of the scriptures.
Okay. So a very important and pertinent query. Srila Rupa Goswami has mentioned all the negatives. Vāco-vegam, control this, control that, control this, control that. And after controlling all of that, then what to do? What should one do? So, Srila Rupa Goswami's aim in the literature is not so much about prachar. What to do will come up in verses ahead. But first thing is what not to do. And after becoming Guru, what will one teach? So what one will teach is what he will learn ahead in Upadeshamritam and Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That is what one is supposed, because Upadeshamritam doesn't stop at verse 1. So Upadeshamritam will go ahead till all the way till Radhakund. So what will the Guru teach? That will come up in verses ahead, because in a literature with multiple verses, you are not expected to compress everything in the single verse. So I hope that satisfies your query, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. All right. All right. So.
All right. Let's give our thanks again for Hare Pārṣada Prabhu. If you'd like to unmute and say Hare Krishna, you're welcome to do that. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. We're very grateful.
Dhāmeśvara Prabhu, thank you so much for hosting the session. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Ram Ram.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. All right. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for staying up so late.
Peace. Hare Krishna.